All right, let's just jump right in. Remote work it's everywhere now, right? But the words we use to talk about it, it's kind of a mess. You hear people throwing around terms like freelancer, contractor, remote employee, like they're all the same thing. But they are absolutely not, and as we're about to find out, getting it wrong can cause some pretty serious problems. So, I've got to ask you, straight up, do you really know the difference? I know it seems like we're just talking about labels, but misunderstanding your own status, or the status of the person you're hiring, can lead to some massive legal and financial headaches down the road. This isn't just about sounding smart, it's about your rights, your taxes, and yeah, your wallet.
The first thing we have to get straight is that remote work only tells you where you work. That's it. It doesn't say anything about how you work or what your legal relationship is with a company. It's just one little piece of a much bigger puzzle. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to untangle all these labels and really get to the heart of what defines your role in today's workforce.
So let's start with the one we're probably most familiar with, just in a new setting, the full-time remote employee. This is your classic salaried software engineer or marketing manager who just happens to work from their home office. They're a permanent part of one company, and the key word here is control. The company doesn't just decide what gets done, but the nitty-gritty of how it gets done. The tools you have to use, the hours you have to be online, you get the idea.
Okay, next up is the contract worker. A good way to think about this is like a specialist brought in for a very specific mission. They're self-employed, they're hired for a project with a clear end date. Could be 3 months, could be a year or more. And during that contract, they're often dedicating all of their time to that single client, making it a really intense, focused kind of relationship. And then we have the freelancer. This person is, well, they're truly their own boss. They're juggling multiple different projects for a bunch of different clients all at the same time. The work can be a little unpredictable for sure, but they have the most autonomy. They're basically running a business of one, serving a whole portfolio of customers.
And now, for what is honestly the most important slide in this entire explainer, so lean in for this one. While we use 3 different labels in our everyday business talk, employee, contractor, freelancer, the legal reality is way, way simpler. Legally, there are really only 2 categories. The words freelancer and contractor, they're just useful business labels for different ways of working under the exact same legal status.
And this table, it just lays it out perfectly. Look at that top row, legal status. A full-time employee gets a W-2. But look at the next 2 columns. The contract worker and the freelancer both fall under one single legal umbrella, the 1099 independent contractor. So even though their daily life, the length of their projects, and the number of clients they have looks totally different, in the eyes of the law, they're exactly the same. They both pay their own taxes, they both fund their own benefits, the whole 9 yards.
So if the piece of paper you sign doesn't actually decide if you're an employee or not, what does? This is where we get into what's basically a legal litmus test. It's not about what your job title is, it's about the real-world situation. And that test really boils down to one single thing. How much control does the company have over the worker? The IRS actually uses a pretty straightforward 3-part test to figure this out. First up, behavioral control. Is the company telling you how to do your job, what schedule to work, what exact steps to follow? Second, financial control. Who's buying the tools? Who's paying for expenses? Are you getting a regular salary? And third, the relationship itself. Is this a permanent core part of the business, or is it a temporary gig for a specific project? The more you answer yes, the company controls that, the more likely it is that you're legally an employee. Look, if you're going to remember just one thing from all of this, please make it this sentence right here. It's that simple. If a company controls the process, the how, the when, the where, you're an employee. But if they only control the final results, the finished product, the outcome, then you are an independent contractor. That's the whole ballgame.
Okay, so we've got the legal stuff down. Now let's talk about what all this means for what a lot of us care about most, our wallets. Because the line between an employee and an independent professional has some massive, massive financial consequences for both the person doing the work and the company doing the hiring. The very first number that every independent contractor gets to know, and not always in a good way, is 15.3%. This is the self-employment tax. See, when you're an employee, you pay half of that, about 7.65% for Social Security and Medicare, and your employer pays the other half. But when you're independent, guess what? You are on the hook for the entire 15.3% yourself. And this chart really breaks it down. For an employee, the company handles withholding your taxes. If you're independent, that's all on you. Benefits? Health insurance, paid vacation. An employee gets those. A contractor has to buy them on their own. But there is a small silver lining for all you independents out there. You can usually claim a home office deduction on your taxes, which is something most remote employees can't do anymore.
And what about all the stuff you need to actually do the work? Well, it's pretty simple. If you're an employee, the company's giving you the laptop, paying for the software, and reimbursing you for expenses. If you're an independent contractor, you're running a business. That means you buy your own computer, pay for your own software, and you cover every other cost of doing business all by yourself.
So beyond just the money, these roles create totally different day-to-day lives. It really is a story of autonomy versus integration. How much control do you have over your own schedule versus how deeply are you plugged into a team and a company's culture?
And right here is where you see that trade-off in action. An employee, they're working inside a pre-built structure. We're talking set hours, mandatory team meetings, company-wide rules you have to follow. An independent contractor, though, they have the freedom to design their own workday. As long as they deliver the final product on time, how they get there is totally up to them.
Now, all that flexibility comes with a price, and that price is usually stability. An employee has the most job security, with that nice, steady paycheck. A contractor has decent security. It's stable, but only for the length of that one contract. And a freelancer? They have the least security, always hunting for that next project, which can definitely lead to an up and down income.
So after all that, how do you actually make the right choice? Whether you're a company about to hire someone or you're trying to figure out your own career, this has to be a strategic decision. So let's break down how to pick the right path for the right reason. For employers, it's actually pretty straightforward. If the job is essential to your business and you need someone deeply integrated with the team for the long haul, you hire a full-time employee. If you have a big, specific project that needs a specialist for a set amount of time, like building out a new app, you hire a contract worker. And if you just need a quick one-off task done, like designing a brochure, that's the perfect gig for a freelancer. And for all you workers out there, this choice is really personal. If you're someone who values stability, great benefits, and having a clear ladder to climb inside a company, then full-time employment is your best bet, no question. But if you value your freedom and flexibility above everything else, and you've got that entrepreneurial fire in you to run your own show, then the high-risk, high-reward world of independent work is waiting for you.
In the end, it all really comes down to this one big question. In this new future of work, are you trying to build a career or are you trying to build a business? There is absolutely no right or wrong answer here, but knowing the real difference between these paths, that's the critical first step to choosing the one that's truly right for you.